Today's episode of the Business and Games podcast is brought to you by our very own sound engineer, Rowie AU. You can find him on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and anywhere else at Rowie_AU. Make sure you use him as we do for all of your audio engineering needs. Welcome to episode 002 of the Business in Games podcast, also known as the Big Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Mays-Smith. This podcast aims to cover multiple facets of gaming, focusing on the business aspect. I've been using my years in the technology and gaming industries to bring you some of the brightest minds in technology and gaming, teaching you how they approach their platforms, maximise their growth, establish their brands, and plan to execute their business. The Big Podcast aims to cover multiple areas of gaming, focusing on the business aspect and how you can get involved yourself. So this is episode 002, 001. We had a chat to the man himself, Brian B, aka Tech Zitty, very tech-orientated channel. But today we have something completely different. We have the meme man himself, Mr. My Name Jeff. Anything4views, mate. How are you today, Chad?
I'm feeling alright. I had a good night's sleep. I got my water. I've had my coffee. I'm feeling good, man. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, it's about, I'm in Melbourne. It's about 4 o'clock. You're over in WA. It's what, like 1:30? Is this usually the time that you wake up? Like, did you have to wake up extra early for this, or?
Well, the message last night, I checked it when it was like 2 a.m. and I was really tired, and I was like to myself, fuck, I gotta go. I don't know how I got the idea in my head that I had to be up at 10:30. So I set an alarm for 10:30, fell asleep about 3. And my alarm goes off. I'm like, dude, I'm going to see if I can delay this thing by an hour. Let's see if we can delay it. I'm going to just tell him I need to throw up or some gay shit like that. And then I work out I need to be here at 1. So, I mean, I could have slept until now, yeah.
Mate, what a hard life, huh? And I introduced you as like the meme man himself. Can you give us a quick synopsis of the tattoos you have on your body, real quick?
I've got a PewDiePie one. That was the first one to start off in the word meme. That was just kind of like a bet between friends, and I ended up doing it. We got it on camera, made a nice video. And then I've got 2 other mates tattooed on there. I've got my friend Ian, which is iDubbbz TV, and then I've got Filthy Frank, which is my friend George, tattooed on my ass as well. And I've got another one, but we're not showcasing that just yet.
Shit, dude. Something coming up, I guess. Another YouTube video?
I don't know if it's going to be a YouTube video, but it was definitely a fucking good night.
Oh, boy. All right. I definitely want to hear that story. So, you know, and once again, like I said, I introduced you as kind of living meme man. If you were to tell someone, say you met someone down at the pub, right, and someone has no idea what you do in the scene, you know, no idea what you do on YouTube and Twitch, etc., could you explain to somebody what you do in a kind of maybe PG way, or at least an MA 15+ way, what you do in 2 sentences?
I don't know if I can put it in 2 sentences, but usually when I run into someone down the pub when I'm doing like an IRL stream or something like that, and it's really hard explaining it to people on the street, because Twitch and YouTube is such a new concept to an older generation, which is, you know, what most people in their 30s or 40s will, I'll say, that's the older demographic. They're like, what's YouTube? What's Twitch? And when I explain it to them, I'm just like, oh yeah, we do like jackass comedy skits on the internet. And they're like, oh, you get paid for that? I'm like, yeah, we get a bit of money.
Mate, jackass comedy skits is probably the best way I could think of describing it. I didn't even think of it that way.
Well, I've been lit on fire. I've been tattooed. I've been hit. I've been covered in shit. So I think that's the best way to describe it.
Jeez, man. Yeah, that works well. Kind of a living meme man that does jackass stunts on YouTube. Makes sense. So yeah, we chatted a bit off air before, and you were saying that you've probably had about 3, I guess you could say, serious years in the gig right now. What were you doing before this? Were you studying? Were you doing like a professional, proper kind of job, or were you just kicking it back and decided to delve into this?
Out of year 11 in school, I went into an apprenticeship, a painting apprenticeship, and I finished that. After finishing that, I had a lot of money saved up, so I thought I'd, fly over to Perth to meet my friend Max, who's a very successful YouTuber. I met Max just through games online, basically, and from there, I kind of just fell into the gig. I studied for a few years as well. Recently just stopped doing that to take on, making YouTube videos and streaming full time, since I could it pays the bills, so I'm happy doing it and just relaxing for now.
Yeah, right. And you know, you did say it pays the bills, and this is a question that I ask most of the people that I'll be having on the big podcasts. And you chatted about Twitch IRL streams versus YouTube and things like that. Do you define yourself as a Twitch streamer or a YouTube streamer, or sorry, like a YouTube content creator? Do you think there's a main difference, or do you think that someone who does things like you, or even does the old meme of, you know, Minecraft Let's Plays, do you think that doing both Twitch and YouTube is really needed these days to make a proper living?
Honestly, I'd like to consider myself more of a Twitch streamer. I definitely have created that for myself. As far as like my following and all the YouTube stuff goes, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a content creator, because all the videos that I've appeared in, I've just appeared in just for comedic stance and to have fun with friends. And I definitely owe it to them for the, I guess, following that I have now. Maybe if I wanted to make mad bank, I could upload on YouTube every week. But I don't have a very strong passion like they do for YouTube. I really enjoy Twitch. But YouTube does pay better, I will say that.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And I find that personally, talking to most different people, they prefer to not necessarily think of it in a money sense, but think of it in just what they enjoy. Because I guess, like, you prefer doing IRL streams, right? So you prefer, you know, you came to RF LAN with me as well, you know, chatted to some kids who are starstruck to see you. And is it because you prefer the live aspect of chatting to people rather than doing the, you know, what's up guys, Scarce here, just in front of the camera and not actually chatting to anyone and maybe tweeting every now and then? You prefer to have that real, you know, interaction, like when you went off to the US and getting in people's faces and doing some funny stuff?
I really like to think that I'm not shy outside of the camera. A lot of YouTubers are quite shy and closed in and don't enjoy going out in public, I guess. I don't know how to exactly put it. I mean, like, in the sense they don't like being confronted by too many people about it. But I'm not too shy. I like going to these RF LANs and, you know, RTX and packs like that. And I do enjoy it when people come up to me and they go, hey, I've seen you in this, seeing this. But it really feels good when people go up, hey, I watch your Twitch stream. I'm like, fuck yeah.
That's good, yeah. And for those people who don't know what RF LAN is, it's the Australia's biggest LAN party that I go to quite often for work. And I asked Chad to come along to one, and there was a group of 5 CSGO players all in year 11 or year 12 playing with their school team there. And their teacher was there as well, who runs tournaments for them. And they went up and they were like, that's Anything for Views. Are we allowed to go talk to him? The guy had no idea who you were. Like, you know, he does gaming and esports, but he has no idea about that kind of scene. He was like, sure, why you're at a LAN, why the hell are you not going to go talk to him? And they come up to you.
Their teacher comes up to me to check first. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, they can come talk to me.
Yeah, it happens.
I love it when people are really shy and they're too afraid to come up and confront me. And I've had situations, and I'm like, if I see it, I know a lot of people might just like ignore it, but for me, I'll call them out. So the other day I was sitting in the city doing an IRL stream, and these 2 kids walked past and they're looking at me, and they knew, like, I was like, yeah, they know. So they were too scared to come up to me. So I yelled across the well, if I can, I don't know, we were outside, but I just yelled out to them. I'm like, yo, come over and sit next to me. Don't be shy. I don't bite.
Mate. Those touching on those IRL streams as well, that seems to be something that maybe, are you trying to define yourself as one of the Twitch IRL streamers at the moment? Because you don't see many people doing that, right? And to expand on that, for those people who don't know, you went to the US recently with a bunch of YouTubers. You did a collab video with Sia, the guy with the sexiest voice on the internet, quite possibly, and you did a few other videos and Twitter videos with some different Minecraft people and stuff like that. So do you think that you're trying to create your own niche in this, or are you just doing it just because you're an outgoing guy and you find it really fun?
I just find it really fun, man. I got flown over to the US by another YouTuber named Sky Does Minecraft, or Adam. He has a fair few channels. He's got his own business and everything. And there I met up with a few other YouTubers, smaller YouTubers, and then I also went and hung out with Sear, Andy Milanakis, Keemstar, because I was in the US, man. I was just trying to catch up with as many people as I possibly can. And you don't really see it behind the scenes, but, you know, I'm always messaging other content creators and chatting with them online and stuff like that. just friendly conversations. So it's really good to meet these people in person.
Yeah, and one interesting thing to add to that too that I definitely wanted to get your weight on this podcast is the difference between kind of arguing with someone for a meme or for a joke or kind of, I guess you could say, staunching someone online, but then actually respecting them as a person. Because I think you had a run-in with Keemstar for a little bit online, right? And a lot of different content creators did as well. But then in the end, you guys caught up as human beings and, had some beers, and now you're on a podcast together.
I think there's people need to understand that there's a transition between talking like banter online and then meeting someone in real life. And I do it to my friends, man. I do it to my real life friends on Twitter. And Max does it to me all the time. He'll come out and say some like shit that could really be misinterpreted as, oh man, he's really mad at him. But at the same time, he'll tweet that while he's in the same room with me. And when you meet someone in real life, that aggression doesn't really transition. And it's just about being adult, really. And yeah, when I met Keemstar in real life, we did bring up the conversation with like arguments we had on Twitter, but it was like a very short-lived conversation. Like, yeah, it's a bit funny. It was all banter. Like, I think we can agree on that. And in most situations, that stuff just evaporates once you've met them in person, because you can't, judge someone by how they talk and act on Twitter. Because if people were judging me by the way I act and talk on Twitter, I'd be a monster.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty true. So speaking of Keem, and we mentioned that joke of scarce before I dropped in there, and you had a bit of a chuckle.
It's scarce, not scarce.
So yeah, what do you think of these? And even Leafy, what do you think of these? I guess YouTube commentators. Do you think that's a fad that's passing? Because that's something that I've seen a lot of people discussing recently.
I couldn't really. I don't know. That's not. It is a passing fad, but I don't think it'll ever disappear. It's more, it will just continue to change and evolve. But as far as meeting them in real life, I mean, there's some questionable things that they say and do online where I'm like, is this guy serious, or is he just doing it for the views? Mm-hmm. Same with me. And then I met. I'm just going to use Keem as an example. Keem is portrayed as like this horrible person, and I meet Keem in real life, and he's honestly one of the biggest sweethearts I've ever met. His real personality is a lot different to how he portrays himself online.
And kind of touching on that point again, do you find that the content that you create might hinder talking to some companies and dealing with some companies?
Oh, definitely. I've already had run-ins with companies that refuse to sponsor me and promote the products that I like. I use some of their products, but they won't promote me because I just don't cater to their PG demographic. Yeah,
right. And do you find that, and do you find that, say taking the YouTube Twitch thing as a whole, do you find the monetization is harder compared to others? So say if you were, I used an example last week when I was chatting to Brian from Tech City that my girlfriend loves to watch beauty guru YouTubers, and they always seem to be promoted regularly promoted, come and watch this on YouTube, that kind of stuff, like the 1,000 Degree Hot Knife dude that everyone knows about, and has been getting promoted to some other people. Do you find it's harder for you and some of your mates who do similar stuff to grow an organic audience? Like, do you really have to reach out and kind of create that shock factor of yelling at people in real life or throwing eggs at each other to get those views?
As far as like YouTube promoting different channels goes, it's a bit weird. I don't really know how the YouTube algorithm works myself. It's always all over the place. But growing for smaller channels with the same sort of humor is a bit hard. But because the people that I do videos with have been doing it for so long, they have a very dedicated fan base that's slowly growing just by people telling other people. As far as like the hot knife and the makeup videos go, it just pops up into people's recommended because a lot of people watch that stuff. A lot of people watch makeup tutorials and toy unboxings and hot knife videos, regrettably, because I watched a heap of them.
1,000 Degree Cold Knife, I did enjoy that video as well.
Yeah.
So do you think that it's important to find a balance then between being a Twitch streamer and being a YouTuber? Because you said that YouTube, you can make some more bank on YouTube, and it's, from my aspect of things, it's easier for sponsors to latch onto YouTube because it's long-lasting content that you can, chuck in internal reports and track views on it over the amount of time. But so do you think it's good to kind of diversify your content across both of them, because your YouTube channel is quite new, right? You said before that you've mainly just appeared in other videos just to help out mates or just for some fun, but now you've started creating just a little bit of content yourself with 2 or 3 videos now.
Yeah. For people to transition between different platforms, Twitch and YouTube, it is very hard, even if their following is very large. I've seen a lot of YouTubers with 500,000 subs that will only get like 200 or 100 viewers on Twitch, because then Twitch and YouTube are 2 completely different communities. Unless, they upload a video onto their YouTube channel that gets put into like hundreds of thousands of people notification box going, hey, come watch me on Twitch.
And that seems to be a pretty new thing, right? I honestly can't think of any names off the top of my head, but I got a notification like that 2 days ago of a YouTuber with 1 million subs who uploaded a video that was 3 seconds long. Come watch me on Twitch, I'm live. The end of the video.
Yeah, that's the only way you can really expand across both platforms, is basically just shoving it in your viewer's face, going, hey, come watch me. For me, I felt like I've grown my own audience on Twitch compared to YouTube. Sure, the Twitter followers helped. But for the most part, expanding across both platforms isn't very easy.
Yeah, and without delving too deep in it, do you find that the Twitch localized or even international support is a factor for you putting effort into that as well? Because in Australia we have a local Twitch guy, and you've been in contact with a lot of the Twitch international guys. When we went to the US, you went and streamed from their office and things like that, and they're often quite more upfront about this is going to be monetized and this is what you can expect. Whereas YouTube, they've gone through that recent spree of demonetizing videos and things like that. So even though YouTube seems to have a big overall audience, do you find that the Twitch support is one thing that keeps you going there, or does it just add a bit of extra flavor?
I think it's the Twitch support that just keeps me going. I feel like there's a person behind Twitch that can always help me with problems that I have with it. That was the question, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I just like Twitch as a whole, the community. I like interacting with people on Twitch because they're not brain dead most of the time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that brings me to something as well that you've been a little bit vocal about sometimes, and some content you don't agree with. If there was, and this is a very generic question, but if there was one or a couple of things you change with a lot of Australian streamers, what would it be? Or say if someone, like those kids who loved your content, and I see some people who tweet at you quite often who are really wrapped up in only your style of content, and also, say some videos from iDubbbz and Max, and, they're really into that kind of scene and things. If you were to coach them and tell them a couple of things that they should just stay clear from if they were looking to do this kind of stuff, what would it be?
What, Twitch streamers or YouTubers?
Twitch streamers, yeah.
Listen, for the most part, I don't really see too many people that are very good in Australia at streaming. It's kind of limited by people that want to do it and like having the availability of good internet to do it. Mm-hmm. If I was going to give any advice to any Australian streamers, it'd be just don't be boring. But I'm pretty boring when I'm playing video games, so yeah. I don't think I can really talk. I think my highlight for my Twitch streams is when I go out in public and just yell shit at people because I'm not very shy.
Yeah, and do you think that's do you think that's an issue? Or do you think that's a big part of most Twitch streamers, is that you're generally defined by kind of one thing? I mean, I've chatted to a lot of other ones, like, Loser Fruit's one of the biggest streamers in Australia right now. And
oh, she's funny. I love watching her.
And some of the others, and chatted to them, in depth of, okay, what games do you pick and why do you pick what games to play? And, a lot of the time they say you can either pick 2 things, right? You can be known for one thing, like League of Legends, Dota, or going out in public and yelling at people, or you can just attach yourself to whatever the latest title is and, just ask Ubisoft to give you a code and play it from day dot. Do you find that's fairly true?
Yeah. Variety streamers, when they're just jumping between games, they keep it interesting, they keep it mixed up, they've always got something new to show their audience. But I find with people that try kind of stand out from, whatever game they've been playing for a couple of years. So example, I'm just going to use Dyrus as an example. Dyrus is one of the larger League of Legends streamers. He'll rack up, tens of thousands of viewers while he's streaming League of Legends. But the second he touches any other game, he only gets 20% of whatever viewers he was getting playing League of Legends. Definitely mix it up, keep it original. Don't stick to one game. Because in the long run, that can really hurt you.
And how do you find, going back to, chatting about Twitch versus YouTube and talking about making bank and that kind of stuff, how do you define different income streams for yourself? Do you find that really hard to manage? Because this is what I talked to Brian about a little bit last week, and it wasn't even too in depth, but it was the fact that if you have a job, right, say you work at Bunnings, you rock up to Bunnings, you do your job, whether it's easy or not, that's up to you to decide. But at the end of it, you get a paycheck, right? But if you're doing YouTube and Twitch, it's not. You're a freelancer. If you're a content creator, if you're getting demonetized videos or you're not making quite enough, you have to try to think of all of these different ways. And do you find that that's quite hard across YouTube and Twitch, having to try to think about, okay, how can I make money? Do I approach companies? Do I waste my time doing that? Do I do Amazon
for smaller content creators? It is very hard, especially with recent events on YouTube. For smaller content creators, it's very hard because if one video doesn't do as good as the other, it can mean the difference between you being able to pay rent and not being able to pay rent. For me, it's just like I'll upload every week or every month, I'm going to start trying to upload every month on YouTube. That way I can get that steady little bit of income from YouTube. I'll try keep that same sub amount. So my goal sub amount is like 400 at the end of every month. As long as I'm on 400 subs, I know that I'm happy with how much I'm going to get paid from Twitch, regardless of how donations have been that month. And just setting goals as well. For me, I'm a very big person, very big minimalist. Is that right? I'm a minimalist, and for me, it's like, all right, I've hit 400 subs this month. I'm gonna take 3 days off streaming, and then I'm gonna lose fucking 30 subs on Twitch. Yeah,
and that's something that I never really thought of before. That maybe you can expand on a bit. And I've seen some other some other Twitch streamers, even as of today, tweeting about this. The fact that your subs drop so quickly when you stop running content. Do you find that surprising as well? Do you find that surprising that you can not stream for, say, 48 hours and then lose, 30 paying subs?
Nah. For live streams, it's kind of like a TV program, man. People want to tune in at the exact same time every day to see what you're doing. And having that consistency is what helps you grow your audience larger, get your numbers larger. But for me, like I said, it's like, 400 subs, I don't need to I can take a break from running around outside in public and, screaming my name, Jeff. But for other people like Andy's recently got in the Twitch game and Andy's killing it. Andy's like, I just hit 1,000 subs. I'm like, thanks, man. He's like, all right, I'm going for 1,200. I'm like, all right. For me, it's like 400 subs. All right, excellent. I'm gonna go watch Netflix for a few days and do my tax.
Yeah.
And catch up on some other stuff because I got other stuff that I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, of course, right? And that's the whole thing. And I guess I didn't even necessarily think to ask this, but vloggers as well, and that's really another thing. So would you call yourself almost a vlogger because you're doing these live content, or would you think that vlogging is still a different kettle of fish?
It's a different thing, but they're both fairly similar. I introduce people to my life and tell them what I want them to know. I don't tell them the full gist.
Yeah,
some people tell their viewers a bit too much, but I like to keep it minimal. I like to keep a little friendly connection with whoever's watching.
Yeah, of course. Showing your lovely slew of tattoos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And putting I guess a business spin on what you said before about getting that 400 subs and that base amount of income and and base cash flow, you could say is very the same as a normal business that some people mightn't necessarily think about. Taking in, for example, I've worked with a lot of car workshops in the past, and them say servicing general Toyotas and Fords are what they use to then fund their Toyota 86 track car that they go off and drift and do time attacks and things in it. And it's it's very similar with Twitch, and that's one thing I guess is the reason why I made this kind of podcast, is to not only just draw comparisons between, but just kind of bring forward things that people haven't thought about before. And you said yourself you've done some studying, you've done some work, but you don't come from a business background, right? And do you find that that's a big hindrance for a lot of for yourself and for a lot of the other Twitch streamers as well? Because you're almost running a business, and like you said, your mate who flew you over, Adam, over to the US. You know, he is running a business, but do you find that's a big issue that you guys run into because you're having to, you know, write sponsorship proposals or be accountable to businesses and sit down in meetings and negotiate contracts and things like that?
Well, usually, I mean, that question just went over my head, but I'm just going to answer it the best I can. For people that are, you know, in YouTube and they don't have a very good business background and they're fairly large size, they'll just get someone to do it all for them and give them a commission. Yeah.
Well, that actually does answer my question perfectly.
Yeah. For me though, like the reason I'm getting involved with all the business side of stuff and I am learning. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm fairly new to the whole thing. You know, fresh out of uni, I'm just trying my best to understand it all. I think in the future, if I'm sick of, you know, making YouTube videos or streaming, not that I'm tired of it now, but in the future, I would like to go into a business background.
Yeah, and you know, and what you said really highlights what I said, and it's not even the fact that you're bad at business or you're stupid or whatever, but it's a lot of the fact that you don't even want to do, or a lot of other content creators don't want to be a business person. They didn't sign up for that, and maybe that's just the infancy of where the scene is at right now compared to you know where it can be in the future. And we're seeing that in esports as well, with players having to sign contracts, and you know a lot of League of Legends guys are full-time, like the Avant guys, and you know all top 8 OPL teams, they're all full-time in houses, but they didn't sign up to be a business person. You know, you don't see an AFL player, or you don't see, you know, Ronaldo going and signing his own contracts and going out and securing deals, but yeah, that's something that someone like you has had to kind of be forced into at the moment.
Yeah. I'm more than happy learning and adapting to it. I'm sorry, this question's going over my fucking head, but yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what I mean for sure. I feel like people know if they want to do it or not. So for a prime example of that is a lot of ex-pro League of Legends players now go and do commentate. They commentate games now.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like, they enjoyed the ride while it lasted with playing professionally on that minimum wage, and now they do shoutcasting. Yeah, same with some old players. They now manage teams. So example, what's that Call of Duty guy that was in, what's it, Nadeshot? Nadeshot now has his own team when he branched off from his old one. Yeah, he runs and manages his own team, yeah. Yeah,
and I was actually showing him as an example to someone like yesterday who's in business and has no idea of esports or gaming and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I was like, look, here's this young dude that's, you know, probably the same age as you and I. He's played some Call of Duty, doesn't play anymore, but he has like 2 million subs and drives a nice car and unboxes stuff and vlogs his life, and people love it, you know, and that's a real new thing. And would you say that, and this is a different question. So would you say that some people just think, all right, you've got, you know, yourself, you've got 200,000 followers on Twitter, you know, and you've got a certain amount of subscribers and get viewers. Do you find that the sponsorship then kind of lands itself in your lap? Some people like to think that, you know, all I got to do is get 100k subs and then Nissan's going to start giving me GDRs and flying me around the world. Or
it definitely helps if you know how to reach out to them, and does speed up the process. For me, for the chair company that sponsors me, it was me reaching out to them. That my first interaction with them was, I saw one of my friends got a chair from them, and they just sent out someone they liked a chair. And I was like, yo, can I have one? They're like, sure. And then I got to know the guy that ran the whole gist, and I was like, are you guys doing sponsorships? And they're like, oh, we're not doing any yet. And I was like, well, you want to give it a go? And they were like, how does it benefit us? I'm like, I'll promote the chairs, give me a vanity URL so you can see how much money I'm making you guys, and you can just, you know, pay me a monthly income. And they're like, yeah, sure, we can do that.
Yeah, sure. No, that sounds good. Yeah.
At some point you will be approached, and it depends how you reply to them. Like for me, I don't know how to write an email, professional email, to save my own life. So I have a friend that I hit up. I'm like, yo, can you write me out this email? And he's like, what do you want it to say? I'm like, make it sound like this. And he makes it sound professional for me.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying before, right, about getting some kind of managers and
just getting someone else to do it.
Yeah, and we've seen some, you know, there's been some companies in Australia that have started, and some have already started and kind of, wouldn't use the word failed, but started and stopped, you know, doing management of Twitch streamers and YouTubers. But I guess it's, from my end, as someone who sponsors them, it's hard for a company to take a cut off the top, right? Because we're not talking about you getting $10,000 a month. You know, we're not talking about you getting even $10,000 a quarter necessarily from these guys. So it's harder for these companies to justify employing staff and marketing and all this kind of stuff and management if they're barely making, $100 a month off these kind of people. So, and, turning that question back to you, how long do you reckon it's going to be? Could you put a time on it until people such as yourself are at that stage where it's, full time and, you're, I guess you could almost say PewDiePie level where you have a whole team of people behind you doing things? Do you think that's a feasible thing in Australia in the next 5 years?
It depends, man. It depends how someone wants to go about running that channel. I know a couple YouTubers that could be doing that right now, but they just like doing it all themselves,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
It boils down to the creator because it is their channel, and they're the ones that have to decide what they want to do with it. And I know smaller channels with like 500,000 subs that have their own editor. He has someone that does all the business side of stuff for them. Rah 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 rah. But then I have friends with 4 or 5 million subs that just do it all themselves.
So are there any, speaking of that, are there any smaller channels in Australia that you would suggest other people should go take a look at right now? And they could be channels maybe that you've got friends in or channels that you're watching that are varying types of content. Are there any up and comers that, because me being in the tech scene, there's a few tech channels, and we talked about that last week with Brian, of guys that people have probably never heard of before. But there's some channels out there with like 5,000 subscribers struggling to make it that just have some brilliant content. So do you know any like that around here?
Any Australians? No, I don't really keep track of that. No, I don't. I really don't know that many like small YouTubers in Australia.
Yeah. What about international ones? Are there any guys that you like? A
lot of Australian YouTubers that have made money have moved out to LA because it's more beneficial for them to live out in LA for collaborations and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I guess maybe turning that question around then, to make it something different. Who are the YouTube channels that you watch? Are there any that you will sit down and take the time to subscribe to on YouTube and Twitch and actually engage with their content?
YouTuber-wise, I follow a lot of smaller channels, World of Warcraft lore, funny commentators. So one of my favorite smaller YouTubers is Brad Does Banter. I'm not sure how many subs he has, but I just find his sense of humor very funny.
Yeah, right.
I can't think of anyone underneath that bracket, though.
Yeah, that's right. So I do have a question here as well that I kind of wanted to get. We're probably coming up 3/4 way or more through the podcast. So did you say that we chat a little bit about controversy and things with Keemstar and things like that? So do you find that content creators such as yourself and you could say Keem or even the old Leafy Saga create drama within themselves or thrive on the controversy and push it?
Oh, fuck yeah, definitely. Heaps of people do that. 100%. 100%. I know that to be fact.
All right. So do you think that's something that's going to become more common in the future?
No, because as soon as people figure out it's fake, it backfires on them pretty hard.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty easy question to answer, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so we covered some multiple facets of different things that are going on. If someone was to, want to follow you on your content and follow your journey and stuff, what are some of the best ways that as a Twitch streamer, part-time YouTuber, they could actually support you, whether it be monetary or not?
Just watch my stream. Give me. I like interaction. I like the feedback. The feedback definitely helps. But if you want to support me, just watch my stuff. I don't know what else more to say to that question.
Yeah,
it's a mixed question depending who you are. For me, it's just watch. A lot of people will like set donation goals and stuff like that, and I used to do that in the past. I don't really do it that much anymore.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the point of us chatting together and me getting different people onto this podcast is to really delve into, and we've done that this time, I think, of why people do what they do and who they are and how their content is shaped by what they are as a person. And like you were saying, you're not so much looking at donation goals or trying to buy a Ferrari every week. You just want to be able to pay the bills, yell some memes and have a good time with your mates and make some collab videos. Would you find that that's a pretty accurate representation?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just enjoying the ride while it lasts and having fun at the same time. And if it doesn't work out, I can always go get a job.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I've definitely opened up doors for myself in this industry where if I am having trouble with supporting myself through Twitch or YouTube, I can always land a job somewhere else within the business side of things. And I've had companies already approach me and offer me like small jobs, but I've just never taken them.
Yeah, and going back to, I'm sure that a lot of that stuff comes from your collabs, and you said that you're really big on trying to work with other content creators. Do you find that your recent trip to the US was kind of a, I guess you could say, career-defining move for you? Like, because, you appeared in some other videos, and we saw that Sia has grown a lot since you were with him, and, since then you've started being on the Baited podcast with Andy and Keem and things like that. Do you find that was a big push for you to really reinvigorate yourself into the future?
Definitely meeting creators face to face does help with, getting in, opening up doors for doing content with other creators. I met a lot of bigger YouTubers that had no idea who I was just by association, because I knew who Keem was. So Keem invited them over to have a drink, and I met them. They're like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm Chad. I do this." And like, "Oh, nice to meet you." They follow me on Twitter. Adam22, is it Adam22? Adam22, No Jumpers, wants me to come onto his podcast next time I'm out in LA, and he runs a very large podcast. So, I mean, it's definitely opened up doors, me going over to LA, and it keeps me in association with other YouTubers, and it keeps content fresh. Collaborations with other people keeps content fresh.
So if you're someone who's sitting at, 500 to 5,000 subs, you're, kind of maybe struggling a little bit to get a bit higher, and you want to start chatting to some of these other people, are there any specific avenues for that? Do you find there's any YouTube meetups or Discord channels, or, coming to events like PAX, or what's the best way for someone who's a little bit smaller to help doing these collabs and stuff?
If you're funny and you make original content and you can catch the attention of other content creators, that's how it happens. I've done things with smaller YouTubers, whether it be podcasts or videos. I'm actually about to do one with the YouTuber with 500 subs because I like his content. And I was like, and I followed him on Twitter a while ago, and he tuned in my stream a few times, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come do some voice work for this video that I'm making?" It's like, I'm like, "Yeah, sure, dude." And that way I can promote his videos just to say that I really like them,
Yeah, that's good. So speaking of you appearing on videos, what would be your favorite or your couple of favorite overall? Because it's it's
my all-time favorite was the one I did last month with Sia, the annoying drug dealers in public skit. That was awesome.
And do you find that you run into any issues with that when you guys are like carrying
in public?
Like are they real guns you're carrying around in public, or are they fake? Or
No, they're prop guns. I mean, we haven't run into any trouble yet, but I can see why it would be a problem if we got pulled up in public for it. But besides like small like remarks from like people walking past or just weird looks, I haven't really had much of a trouble like run in with doing dumb shit in public.
So you haven't had to yell out, "It's a prank, bro," yet when you're getting beat?
Yeah, I haven't had to yell that while I'm getting beaten up. No. The most recent event was after my last IRL stream. I was on the phone to my housemate, and I was like to him, I was just talking to him about what happened on the stream because he was watching it, and he was like, "Oh, that's funny. I saw you were in the massage." And I was like, "Yeah, I was getting the foot massage," and I was like moaning and acting weird and stuff like that for the stream. And I mean, there was a lady in front of me, sitting in front of me on the train while I was talking on the train. She gets up at a stop. She goes, "No one wants to hear about your snide remarks about getting your feet rubbed and moaning sexually about it." I'm like, "Oh, okay, no problem." She's like, you should be ashamed of yourself. Jesus Christ. I'm like, go with Christ.
Jeez, man.
Yeah.
So you haven't been beaten up, even berated by an old lady.
As well, yeah, I haven't been beat up yet, but she was quite cranky about it, and I was like, sorry, like, I understand why she was probably cranky. I'm not calling her a bitch or anything, but...
Yeah, so if someone wants to come and meet up with the Chad himself, where are you going to be next? You're usually at things like RTX. Are you going to, like, GX Australia, PAX, or EB Expo?
I'm going to be going to EB Expo and PAX Australia. So, I mean, yeah, I'm a big nerd. I don't think people know that. I like going and playing video games, so that's why I go to the events. Yeah,
and one question we always have to ask is, favorite video game of all time?
I mean, this is a pretty fucking standard one, but Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time's favorite. Actually, no, World of Warcraft is my favorite game of all time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to this day, despite, like, I don't play it anymore, I love the lore aspect of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, definitely nerding it out. So, if someone wants to catch up with your content as well, where can they see?
We play twitch.tv/anything4views. I stream whenever.
You stream whenever. That sounds great. All right, Chad, thanks for coming on episode number 2 of the podcast. Is there any supporters, any sponsors, any special subs that you want to give a shout out to before we wrap it up?
Nah, shout outs to my mum, and thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm sorry I was a bit bland, a bit boring, but it's one of those days.
Just one of those days, mate. All right, Chad, thanks for coming on to the big podcast. Once again, for those of you listening, I'm your host, Chris May-Smith. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening to episode 002 of the Business in Games podcast. You can contact us at Business in Games on Twitter and Facebook, or you can chat about anything you heard today in the official Oceania Esports and Gaming Business Facebook group. If you want to follow Chad, aka Anything4views, you can find him on Twitter at Anything4views and also on Twitch TV /Anything4views. As for myself, I'm your host, Chris May-Smith. You can find me on Twitter at SmithyMayo, on Instagram under the same handle, or even on Facebook as well. Thanks, and bye for now.